technology will not replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers can be transformational. George Couros. Good afternoon, all, and welcome to the second day of the National Level Faculty Development Program on Skills for Next Generation Teachers, conducted in collaboration with Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center of Ministry of Education, Government of India, and Jean Monnet Module, Center for European Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. Let us start the session by invoking the blessings of Lord Almighty through a silent prayer. Today, we are inarguably honored to have with us a very vibrant, erudite, and state-of-art resource person, Dr. Vimal Rao, Project Head and Joint Director, Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center of Ministry of Education, Government of India, Coordinator, National Resource Center of Chemistry of MHRD, Deputy Director, Center for E-Learning, Senior Faculty, Department of Chemistry, SGTB, Khalsa College. With a decade of hands-on experience in the corporate e-learning world, and besides being a tech-savvy teacher, she's amongst the pioneers in implementing ICT in higher education in the country. In addition to an outstanding array of extraordinary research papers, she has to her credit a patent. Once we take a meaningful glance at her books, presentations, projects, and her invited talks at local, national, and international forums, we realize the relevance of being her rapt listeners. She is one of the leading e-learning experts of India who has made a mark at the national level in various activities such as development of e-content, teachers e-kit, MOOCs, empowerment of teachers in ICT skills, introduction of newer teaching methodologies. She's also managing 3 centers working in the field of e-learning at the national level over and above her teaching responsibilities. She's the only chemistry teacher of the country to be awarded the National Resource Center of Chemistry of MHRD, Government of India, for developing Arpit courses 3 times in a row for all chemistry teachers of India. As Joint Director and Project Head of Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center, Government of India, she has trained more than 45,000 teachers, and as Deputy Director of Center for E-Learning, SGTB Khalsa College, she has developed more than 50 MOOCs in 4-quadrant format for Swayam platform. The quality of the e-content developed by her in Arpit courses in chemistry has been rated amongst the best in the country by MHRD. She's contributing in policy making at national level in various committees like Online Courses Regulations 2018 of UGC, E-Governance Committee at UGC, and E-Content Committee for National Education Alliance in Technology of AICTE. She's a governing body member of around 10 autonomous colleges of the country. She's also the member of a newly formed committee to review and continue the EPG Pathshala project in next phase at UGC. She has guided development of video studios for many institutions, including for AICTE. Dr. Rao has been conferred with various awards like Edupreneur Award by Minister of Education, Bahrain, Delhi Ratan Award, Edupreneur Innovator Award, to name a few. One of the 3 case studies as Best MOOCs from India on her designed MOOCs has been published in the Australian and Indian Quality Assured Online Learning by Australia India Institute for Department of Higher Education and Training, Australia Government. Let me, with much pride, remind you that she has been recently awarded the prestigious Indian National Science Academy Teacher Award 2020. Ma'am, with a very warm and expecting heart on behalf of Vimla College, I welcome you to grace the first session of the day. I also welcome our dear principal, Dr. Sister Beena Jose, Vice Principals, Dr. Sister Beena TL and Dr. Minimol K. Jose to the program. On behalf of Vimla College, I also welcome all the participants to this FDP. Dr. Vimal Rao will be giving us insights on developing MOOCs and training teachers in pedagogy and digital skills today. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lakshmi. So kind words of some brief profile ahead, and very warm regards to Dr. Beena Jose and entire organizing committee from Vimla College, and all my dear colleagues as participants in this particular FTP. And I think yesterday Professor Bakshi has already set the pace. He had given you a very motivational lecture and also given you insight about the changes happening, especially looking into the role of technology in our professional space as teachers and how it can be utilized in a very positive way to improve upon the quality. There are pockets of excellence, but then that excellence is not in each and every uh, classroom, I will say, and for each and every student. So can technology empower us as teachers, and how it can be used to transform each and every classroom? That's where I will be actually focusing on, and that I will be doing with my experience in the corporate world of e-learning, as well as at the national level projects, where I am fortunate to have got the opportunity of contributing a bit in this direction. But it is just a drop of contribution that we have done. A sea of change has to be done, and all that change will be from each of you. So I'll also share that how you can be a part of, not at the receiving end, but at the contributing end, because I know each one of you has that some particular topic that, okay, I know it the best, and I will like to share that with my other fellow colleagues from my country and to the globe. So that's the change which is happening, and I'll be sharing you some of these information and how you can become part. So I'll just share my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll be talking about, to align with the FDP theme, I'll be talking about skills for next generation teachers and overview. Many hands-on sessions can will be done in this FDP, but then there is so much more which has to be learned, and it has to be a continuous experience and co-learning. And we are doing some part in this, which I'll also be share. And then you will get an overview about what all can be done, where you can contribute, and how you can benefit as well. So Professor Bakshi talked about the Swayam MOOCs, and I want to share this. This is not a just a recent regulation. This is a 2016 regulation for SWAM, where up to 20% of courses per semester any student can earn credit, and now it is being increased to 40%. So there are many aspects that how we now implement this. First thing is the awareness is not there. So I'll request all of you to spread awareness amongst your students and your colleagues that these type of provisions are there. And now as teachers, it becomes our responsibility that every semester, whatever courses are offered by any other university for the credit transfer, they have to be aligned with our students' need, looking at their program, looking at their level, and then we have to make the statutory provisions through our universities where these are accepted as credit courses. So there is a host university and there is a parent university from where the student is belonging, and much has to be done in this direction, because frankly speaking, if we say up to 20%, this has not been realized. And there is another angle to this, which is like CBCS. When we say the CBCS was very aspirational, and most of us are following CBCS except few states, and when the spirit and the name itself is like choice based credit system, But frankly speaking, are we able to give our students the choice they are looking for? Frankly speaking, no, because then we have the other constraints of the available teachers, their expertise, or the student teacher ratios, the workload, and so many things which come. So now it is not about that MOOCs will be replacing teachers. How MOOCs can be used to empower teachers and to fill up those missing gaps in the education system. And that's where I will like you to uh, put your mind into that. You can also propose to develop MOOCs from your university if they agree to offer it as a credit course to one of the national coordinators, which Professor Bakshi also mentioned. And then it has to be focused on some newness. A particular college or university in Goa will have a different specialty than in Delhi, than in Kolkata, then. So can we provide those opportunities to other part of the students? And that's where the optional and elective courses, if you focus, and that is the dimension that myself, I am also in the EPG Pathshala reviewing committee, that now it will be, we are mapping it, that what is the existing already available, what are the missing gaps in the available courses, and then what needs to be added more. So that newness has to be then looked up with this regulation from that point of view. And also there are fully online courses available where any university can start, provided they meet 3.26 NAC accreditation, and there are some other quality parameter, which again I was fortunate to be part of that regulation to be formulated. Now in this background of so much change happening, it is not due to the corona. Already government of India from last 2 decades, they have been working in pilot projects, starting with National Mission on Education through ICT, and many good models have come up, and now they are being replicated. And even myself and Professor Bakshi, we were involved in some of the initial level of these experimentation in around a decade back when we were working at Delhi University level. So now all that has conglomerated into e-content, majority of that being EPG Pathshala, NPTEL, and CC. And then there are also MOOCs which are being formed. So now, keeping these in mind, first is that when we are going from normal education system, which is having challenges, the face to face, and in the corona time, we all have realized that yes, if we are serious learners, technology can really provide us the way. And there are challenges that also we will discuss, and Professor Bakshi also has already addressed to some of them. So now, but as teachers, how our roles are changing, we have to become tech savvy, because if we are not able to use these machines as laptops or desktops or these mobile gadget phones, where using different applications we can do mix and match, looking at the students requirement, and that has to be addressed in all these dimensions: curriculum designing, content development, or it is the classroom transaction. Right now it is purely online, it is not a good way, but yes, the blended learning and the new normal will not be the old one. So the pedagogy for interacting with the learners who are not in front of you, it is not the same way, it has to be um, uh, new models have to come, and we also have to evolve that how using technology we can be interactive with our participants. And also the flipped classroom methodology, because then you have to look at those ICT empowered technologies which will be giving you more effective classroom teaching. And then also online and offline assessment, especially from NEP 2020 point of view, the internal assessments are going to now become more important. So are we able to handle the huge number of interactive questions and the question banks and the things we'll have? So yes, definitely the answer to all these is that we have to become tech savvy teachers. But how? It cannot be done in one day. And don't feel that if you have not learned, it is never late. So what all you will require is, I will give you that overview. First thing is, I think, which this corona has already taught us, is the live teaching using these video conferencing tools. And those who have not, I think it's again a good experience that even you conduct these one week FTPs. There is a new thing that you see how you are communicating with teachers, and the same has to be then percolated down to your students. When they are not connected, then how in WhatsApp groups and the other groups we have to address to their issues, all that will be uh, has to be integrated. So right from communicating with students to live teaching, the peer group interactive learning, can we do it in this phase? Or how you can provide some additional self learning content or open education content to the students, how you collect valuable resources, or design the meaningful questions as self assessments, online quizzes, how the students can upload. If they are not tech savvy, they cannot type, then can they submit the handwritten assignments? And then how you can grade them, how you can do the feedback, report, analysis, and generalization of internal as well as the summative examination, which many universities are taking through these platforms. But then there is also proctored examination that we'll have to upgrade into knowing the nuances. Even if we partner with some technical company, it has to be from academic, because it is our responsibility. Any student can put up RTI, and so we are answerable. So we have to be knowing these technology, even if we are not handling all of them on our own. That is another thing I will like you to be aware about. So some tips for online communication with students, I will say, many times we bombard them with so much information. So in WhatsApp, I will say, be very concise and clear, leaving no room for varying interpretation. Otherwise, you will be keeping on replying again and again to them. So think properly that what communication you're sending to the student. And if some feedback has to be taken, rather than taking it in an open way, it is better you create a Google form and then analyze it on individual basis. But otherwise, they can give you individual comment on your WhatsApp, or if special personal attention is required, and you can revert back. So that emotional counseling we used to do, it is not that it has just wiped out, it is how we can, through the technology also, we can do that, is what we have to learn. Messages, emails, telephone calls, I am not going to all of you are very comfortable. How to collect the information varied, it is always better to have the Excel sheets. So handling Excel sheets, I will say, is you should learn, and analyzing all will be a new norm. And rather than, if we try to see the social network tools, Twitter or Facebooks are not a way where the type of, I've seen many schools and colleges going into Facebook can be just okay, some event happened or some information otherwise, but it cannot be used for the class and the teacher, the student teacher type of relationship. I think for that, WhatsApp and Telegram type of apps are more useful. Coming to face using the projector as blended or live teaching, because simply face to face with chalk and board may not be reality very soon, and that is thanks to this corona. But how many of you really feel? You can write comments to me. I am looking at the chat section, so if there are any questions in between, I will respond to that. Okay, so I will like to get my colleagues' inputs here. How many of you really like that? Yes, uh, without talk and chalk, our subject cannot be taught. Yes, and in Corona, you're really finding difficulty. I'm looking for, yeah. So there are some colleagues who are finding difficulty, and you say that, okay, the talk and chalk is, so it is difficult, yes. Practical section is difficult, maths teaching is difficult, okay. It can be taught, Dr. Ashutosh is saying, yes, it can be taught without talk and chalk. There are subjects like maths, which is difficult, science is difficult, labs is difficulty. Okay, so I'm getting input from what you have in your mind, and let that be construct. So let me take you back to the Gurukul time. Was there any blackboard? Was there any blackboard? No. And who were the gurus? Was there any formal system of universities and colleges? No. So we are in such a noble profession, first of all, where we are gurus. And who were gurus? Who thought that before we leave this world, whatever knowledge, whatever skill, whatever information we have gathered, whatever wisdom, we should give it to our future generation. So I will start with this note. So this is what we have to always keep in mind, whether it is talk and chalk coming or it is the technology coming. Our main soul is from that guru, that we are trying to become knowledgeable so that we can do best to our education system. And we also have responsibility. If you think that, yes, this is the topic which I can explain the best, then record it, put it for posterity. We have been doing like textbooks, but now there is much more beyond that. And then we had this technology of board coming. This invention came, and where the guru was just with 3 or 4 students because he could not handle more. And now the need is increasing. But this talk and chore where you write, then it is visible too. But can you see the teacher who was looking in eyes to the students is now more, or at least half of the time we are on the board, so we are not able to look at, and sometimes new senses happen, and then we have evolved the way that, okay, this is the naughty student and this is how it can be handled, and so on. So we have developed those fifth senses, the ears, and the same way we can handle here also. So yes, many of you are writing the face to face interaction was lost and face to face interaction is missing, maybe uh, right now you say. But yes, we have to evolve the models where we will be trying to, because once you understand the difficulties and the challenges, we will try to find the solutions. And then they came these projectors, where now see the teacher is towards the students, and there is so much base content, and then it is taking uh, a next level, a better level, where the reference material is there and the teacher is able to interact with the student. And this is one of the best way, where using projector you have the students, and this is where we will like to go back. But I will not like to go back into this stage where there is a blackboard only. And various governments at central level and state level, they were working that, okay, we'll make our hardware and the softwares and the network connections so good that we will have these type of next generation classroom. But this corona took us here, that many of the projectors were there and they were in the process, but then now the students are not in front. But then I will say there is a silver lining in the dark clouds, because we have used these technologies which were existing from almost 2 decades, but we never exploited them. If I recall the Skype as the video conferencing tool, I had used it almost 25 years ago. But then how much better we are using now, because now there is no option. So it was like, we as teachers, we were reluctant to use these technologies. It was like a swimming pool, that, okay, I will maybe retired by the time I'll have to learn the swimming. But now Corona has pushed us all inside, and there is no excuse. We'll have to learn, and it is will be definitely for the betterment, and we will see the potential how it can empower us. But still, many of you, as I ask you, they feel that I don't need my content. Chalk and board is the best. I can prepare myself. I will write, and for 30, 35 years we write the same thing and we rub. Don't you think that our efforts have gone in dustbin so many times? Have you ever thought, could we preserve all of them? Many times we really wonder that this blackboard should have been extendable, stretchable. And there are many classrooms where you'll find that there are 3 4 blackboards also written, because the teachers sometimes they require more space. So depending upon different subjects, these things have evolved in that technology also. But I will say is the most important tool for you to learn is the PowerPoint. You should know that that is what is going to give you the best of support material as empowering tool, whether you are delivering your face to face lecture, whether you are presenting some presentation in otherwise professional world, or for your getting any project, or for these online classes. I have seen many online classes like teachers simply said, and they are not even showing their faces to each other, they're simply speaking. This is just not possible. So prepare your presentations well, and for that I will say is it has to be very meaningful. If it is so dull, like look at this, I'll show you some examples. It can be put up into a better way, that if you have the corresponding visuals, and then we are working on animations which are inbuilt tools in this PowerPoint, and then we explain. So this PowerPoint should be used as a point, and then you explain your concept further. It should not be taken as a tool to replace you, that whatever you feel everything is written. That is something which has to be avoided. My bio colleagues and all from anywhere, you can be now creative whatever topic from your history, uh, my history colleagues, or from literature, any visual if you have to. This is a colorful world. It is not that black and white era of the blackboard where you have to draw. You can get these ready made things and use it in your classroom teaching. It's going to be really good for you and the students. And you can add animations. Look at this particular animation.
Scorching heat and a person is really thirsty. He is willing to pay a good amount to get thirst quenching 1 glass of water. This is because he is getting immense benefit from this 1 glass of water. From the second glass of water, the additional benefit he derives is a little less than the benefit from the first bottle. Hence, he is willing to pay a little less for the second one. The economist's term for this additional benefit is marginal benefit. And so he derives even a little less benefit from third glass and would pay even lesser. This explains the law of marginal utility.
So you search for some animation or concept simpler. So rather than you explaining some small video clippings of animations, or the videos of other teachers, or experiments to say, so all that lies there. Or you have the 3D models where you are explaining. Look at now, if any book is having a static 2D diagram, and how it comes really alive here, is what we are talking about, the potential of ICT. And the explanation of the concept becomes so simple. Look at these diagrams. They are all, many of these simulations and models are available, and you can use them in your classroom teaching while explaining, which otherwise students are not able to visualize, and even on Blackboard we cannot write. And this is like, then you can transfer this PPT to your students, and they can keep learning again and again. And still my some colleagues may say, the way we write slowly, gradually, and then we explain, these cannot do. Then also we have the solution where the whiteboard feature can be used, and you can have the interactive screen capture videos. Now this is the another very important thing, that making one as your base PPT, you can create your own video, even if you are using the way you write it on the board. So that part can be again a part of your presentation. When you're delivering, you can mute the audio, and otherwise it can be shared with your students to watch that particular thing again and again. Because if some student is absent in the class, are we able to repeat the routine face to face class? No. But here you can record and you can upload in your YouTube video and then put it in your learning management. That's going to be the future, and the future is here, and these are the tools which we have to actually learn. But then while sharing the content, while creating your content, while using anyone's else content, we have to be very clear about the IPR and copyright issues, so we don't have to harm anyone. So if you're taking from open education resource, be honest in mentioning the source, that this is where from where I have taken, and it can be used under the fair use guidelines for your students. So detailed webinars I keep on conducting, where you can join and get to know the details of this, or from any other place. So it is not that you have to come for all of the workshop here, but what all you have to now be aware about these terms. Because even if there is a poster coming and says that is a 3 days workshop on LMS Moodle, if you have not heard about what is LMS Moodle, that piece of information is not going to help you. So that's why it's the overview I'm trying to give. And then you can have peer group and interactive learning in the learning management system, or otherwise you can have collaborative online tools like Wiki, Quizlet, discussion forums, where you can as teacher initiate that and keep a track that how many students are really participating or not, and take it further. Talking about the self-learning e-content or open education resources for students, you can either take from existing resources, or if you think that okay, in my subject they are not there, or the way this content is there, it will not gel with my way of teaching, then you can create your own content as well. But then you should also understand what is e-content. When you're putting any e-content in this sea of e-content which is will be created, so a lot is already happening, is please don't try to create junk. Try to create quality content, even if it is 1, 2, or 10 modules. You should be really proud that okay, this is what I have created, and there will be so many users and benefiting. So for that, it has to be definition wise, you may say it is multimedia content. But if you think that whatever word doc you have, you do the screen capture, that may be some content, but it is not of good quality. It has to be really combination of multimedia, the potential which this technology can give us. Not simply that you scan a book or you take a photograph. I have seen many teachers in this corona time, when they are sharing content with the students, although there are video resources of good quality available, what they are doing is they are clicking their notes or some existing books and sharing with the student. Please, I think we should be this time we can utilize to upgrade our skills and prepare some content which is helping us and helping our students. Because these features, if you're just the print medium, okay, the students are not able to access library, we are trying to help them to get that content, maybe of some use. But in the long run, this will not have so much significance. So that's why we say that anything digital but yet printable, that is what is called as the static content, and we should be now aware about these. Then what is e-content? E-content will be where you are using multimedia enrichment. You are having speaker videos, you are having animations, you are having graphics, you are having visuals, and of course you are having the text which is based. But then not whatever is written on the screen, the same you are reading out, that is something going to be very problematic. Vishal is raising hand. can we hold on for you some question at the later end? I'll take your, or you can write it in the chat. I am looking into your chats, and in between, if I feel, I will be taking it and integrating with my lecture. So e-content should be good in looks because the multimedia enrichment makes the concept simpler, like you can see some examples here. But then at the same time, if the subject clarity or it has incorrect information, it we will be doing multiplier effect. Let me caution you here. If you are making these animations and if they are wrong, they will be rather more damaging, because the visual impact is much more than the textual, and that is why these are powerful. So if it is good, it will make it best or better, but if it is bad, it will make it worse. So we have to keep that in mind, and this is really having more retain. And other extreme can be that you're simply writing on the board, and then वो एक शादी वाला वीडियो कैमरा लाके रिकॉर्ड करके रोज की आप 4 वीडियो बना सकते हो. But then that is not the intent. It should be a combination of both, because what you are writing sometimes be best of all the mix, and that will be giving you best combination. So I will say it has to be a perfect blend of the subject specific requirement as well as technical, and also we should try that whatever are the missing gaps in the system, they also we try to address. I'll show you some glimpses of what good quality content I am referring to. uh, is our team has tried to make something like this. In the year 2018, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded to 3 scientists, as you can see here: Francis H. Arnold, George P. Smith.
Next news is institution is and the before we design the curriculum, there are 4 fundamental questions that must be answered by us. I would talk only about the preamble of the Constitution, because preamble is a crisp one-page document of the Constitution which describes the entire philosophy of the Constitution.
Quantum mechanics. But some paper, or if you don't have a grater, graters are not present in chemistry labs, ferric thiocyanate, blood red thiocyanate complex,
Or atom is excited into an electron.
To look at the major pioneers who have contributed to this technique development, and technique has evolved over the period of last 6 decades or so.
You have now seen the interesting
physical constants.
All the SI units henceforth
19-year.
This is a variety of steel which originated in India. And to be more specific,
So what I will do is I will share this video, the small glimpses, and you can yourself ask, because maybe right now also, like Linus is saying, there is some network connectivity at some of your parts, so the video is not playing. So I will not go into, but I wanted to give you the glimpse that it is the background, it is the visuals, and you see there is not simply text. And now you watch some other videos which are educational, and try to see the difference, and you yourself as learner will find that which are good and which are bad. And when you try making your own content, then keep all those things in mind, that while making content, it has to be best of the subject and the technical specific requirement. And it should also be going into enhancing our the way of learning process, the 6 level hierarchy as per the revised Bloom's taxonomy, from the more rote learning, which we are confined to knowledge, understand, and somewhat application level, towards more of analysis, evaluation, and creation. Whether it is in the way we teach or we assess, it has to be worked out in this. And you can contribute and use the national level or university level resources, and that's what is there. And also, let me tell you that as teachers, if you contribute in e-content development as per CAS regulations 2018, which was not prior to 2016, because when with 2013 we started with the EPG Pathshala project, we used to really request teachers that please come and contribute for this, but then they will say no, for us the research is much more. And now it is, I'm thankful to UGC that it is equated at par with research paper. So if you have one research paper, you can see that you get 8 or 10 points, but if you are contributing e-content in 4 quadrants, then it is 5 points per module. So making 2 modules is equivalent to one research paper, and making entire paper through a team of authors as editor, then that also you see it is 10 points. And there are so many other things. So in entire section of this third point has been added in our UGC CAS regulations. And also in our promotional requirements, where if some has not done FDP, if you have contributed for 10 modules, then that is also can be taken for the equivalence to the promotional requirements of one FDP. And we should be aware about what is this 4 quadrant module in MOOCs, where you have content, where you have video, where you have discussion forum, and then you have the quizzes. So you should be very, very clear about these details. And we do conduct detailed sessions into this. We also have then I have myself conceptualized this teachers e-kit, and I invite all of you to participate in the teachers e-kit movement that I have started. It first version was 3 years ago, e-content in 4 quadrant, and very soon I'll be starting with teachers e-kit 2.0 for individual level. Some groups have already started working for entire paper, and those who are willing, they can take this, because what is here, it is like it is you have to submit for what teachers manual, what all has to be taught, and then how it has to be done using the flipped model, what all digital tools, whether they are videos or the automated Excel sheets or any other software, then the PPT which can teachers can use, and now we are embedding it with the flipped classroom video which can be shared with students. What questions can be given, and they are tagged with the Bloom's taxonomy level. And something more which is like do you know points to pointers, questions. So all these things are integrated in this teachers e-kit. And another very, very, very important thing is the learning management system. See, learning management system, you learn X, Y, Z, and say rather you learn 3, 4, because you will be able to compare them, which is better. And then many times things are not in your control. If your institution has given you some LMS, you'll have to use, but then like SWAYAM is also LMS. And if I on individual basis I am given a project where I'll have to upload on SWAYAM, I'll have to look at the features of that. So it is better that we come to know and get a hands-on grip on these 2 or 3 learning management systems. And I will recommend Moodle, being an open educational resource, which is has also been in the latest guidelines issued under Corona, that Moodle is also to be used in our FDPs and other events. So Moodle is what we are promoting and doing the training into that as well through various workshops and FDPs. And you must be having what is learning management system. Nothing like in our classroom that board is there. This is a virtual board where there is no limitation of space. You can write as many things, you can post as many PDFs, your videos, your questions, you can have online quizzes, you can have discussion forums. So learning management system will have a teacher role who can put up the content, and a student role who can use attempt on the quizzes and so on. And as teachers you can grade the students. So many features are there, and that takes this live classes online. If you want to say that everything has to be done in live class, that is not possible. So the learning management system will provide you the continuous learning space where your students and you can log in at your own comfort. It's not when the students are logging you have to also log in at the same time. So it can be done at your own comfort, and it can be put up in a very structured format. So many examples are there. Even the Google Classroom is there, Moodle, Blackboard, Open edX, and so on. And you can, so LMS is actually, you can provide useful for providing the e-content and conducting formative and intel. Especially I will say, while selecting any LMS for your institution, you should be looking at that how much easier your job will become if you are already taking these online assessment, but ultimately you're compiling the marks is taking more time. It is of no use. Like using Moodle or Swayam, can you imagine, I had last time more than 5,500 teachers enrolled, and how much time I took for 28 online tests I took for them. I had to submit it to ministry. I just took 10 minutes. So that is what is the power of technology, and that is what we have to look for. And some desirable features of the LMS that you can keep in mind while deciding is the virtual interaction should be there, the email handling, the discussion forums, online queries, the feedback mechanism should be there. You should be able to put the content in a more structured way. It's not that WhatsApp, then the student will be searching where is the last video, where is the entire thing in a structured manner. This is week 1, this is week 2, or topic wise, this is chapter 1, this is chapter 2, and then put up various contents, whether it is a YouTube video or a PDF or your PPT or your notes or the links to other site. All that is possible in these learning management systems. And assessments, you can put variety of questions. Now this is another area where we all have to learn that how to frame meaningful questions. Many of my colleagues may say that multiple choice may not be good, but yes, many times they are really mind boggling, and it's how you frame the question. And when these kids will be going into net examination, so many competitive examination, now majority of examinations we are all aware are happening in these MCQ format. So we have to also give exposure to our students in these direction, and they can really look at the audio video based questions. It's not like write a short note on this and this way, the student will come prepared as a ready-made answer. So definitely the preparation of good quality questions and question banks is now to be taken in a priority mode, and that also with the level of difficulty and managing them properly. It's not that you clutter the question and then you're searching. There are thousands of questions which has to be searched for which particular level of learner. So all these proper tagging, designing as per the revised Bloom's taxonomy has to be learned. And then question paper setting also, when we are designing the question papers for our online learners or for very important examination from our university point of view. Like I recall in 2009 I was the in charge for Delhi University's first ever online examination, and it because of at that time they were the infrastructure, we were like we selected only 3 centers in the first year and 7 centers in, and there were more than 4,000 students, so it could not be done in one day. So we had batches of around 8 to 9 days, and every day there were 4 batches. So how to ensure uniformity? You cannot give the same paper to all of them, otherwise it will be like all the paper is already leaked, And then if one batch student can come up with RTI that the earlier batch student was given an easier paper. So all these things are academic, they are not technical, but yes, we should be able to select that particular technology where there are ways where you can have. So what we do is we created entire question bank, and every question was tagged, this is level of difficulty 1, this is from this particular topic. So we selected the entire syllabi, these particular topic, one question from this, two from this, three from this, level of difficulty, overall percentage, type of question. So all that mix and match is, even we were not aware which batch is going to get what question. So, and the grading and feedback, if it is purely online MCQ type of formats, it can be very quick. But if it is something handwritten subjective type, then you can check and put the grading there, and the analysis and reports becomes very easy, because you can export the excels through them. Some manual grading also you can do. Look at this. So students can write or they can upload their handwritten thing, and then you see which all students have submitted, which all have not. Then there are also this is like you have different other type, missing word, MCQ, true false type of questions. So variety of questions, and students can practice. This is like audio based. So this is a new dimension that as teachers we have to think that in our own subject, what all new type of questions has to be created where their learning ability can be taken to further. Look at this bio question. Similarly, you can be creative in your own subject, that how drag and drop option can be used, whether it is the circuit diagram for physics, or even if it is I got to know one example. One teacher has entire mind map, and it was put up with different characters in a English story, and that was to be matched ki this particular character has these particular properties and so on, say. So it's like you can take it into various way. So learning management system will prepare you not only for your institution level requirement as individual teachers, you can work as group of teachers, like one offer I am already having, where teachers e-kit can be prepared, and you can start your own new way of publishing, which will be the future of publishing, not the books, your own video along with questions, and still you are in touch with your students, the virtual learners, your own private MOOCs, your that is also going to be there. And then as university system, we should be also knowing about admission, timetable, attendance, analytics reporting, the proctored examinations, the tools are there for that, mark sheet and certificate generation, how authentic, and how you can develop small softwares. I think I'll request computer science students to be made up, given these type of projects where they can help the institutions. And then I will say that higher education is seeing major changes. Post COVID is not going to be pre COVID. The future, which teachers were reluctant, and even we working so much actively, we were like, I don't know when the teachers will be ready, by the time maybe we'll retire. But then the future is here and it's going to stay, and we all have to prepare so that we enhance the education system, not only our own class, but also help the school level teachers, our own fraternity from different parts of the country. So in that direction, where we are right now evolving the models for virtual teaching learning through online tools and taking it in a better way of blended learning, we also have to prepare for AI driven personalized learning. The technology is here, but why it is not being used? Because we as teachers are not aware and we are not ready. So we have to learn all these things and take the help of virtual, augmented reality, and this AI driven personalized learning is same guru shishya. But don't think that the guru is not there. There are so many gurus helping this single kid, and yet helping in a multiplier effect. and giving that one-to-one experience. And the one-to-one, I think we all agree, is the best teaching learning. So that's where we have to take it further. This is one of our recent article, mine and Professor Bakshi's, we have talked about ICT for quality education. So I'll request all my colleagues to learn all these tools, but also improve upon your subject, improve upon how you have to be interactive with these kids who are not directly face to face with us, but yes, with the phones and with other apps we can be still connected. And that's where I will be requesting all of you to think around and come out with better models which can enhance the quality of our education system. I'll be sharing some of the upcoming workshops. I think already some my team has posted. So you, if those who wish to join after this FDP is completed, they can join. And thank you so much, and thank you especially Vimla College and JNU Center for European Studies for collaborating with us. And so I've tried to give you overview, but so much has to be done. It's like I have been into this from last 25 years, and still I am I'm learning some new technologies right now also. It has to be kind, because technologies which keep up coming, but we as teachers, we have to be seeing that how responsibly we can use these. We have to use them not to replace us, we have to use them to empower us. And that's what we whenever we represent at any body, we request the decision makers also, please don't think of any education system without teachers. That will be a havoc. So don't think of making videos which will be like then they will replace. No, so much additionally has to be done. You have to interact with your students with the flipped classroom. So taking these videos as base, then do the problem solving one to one with your students, and that's where the change will come. If you're teaching the same thing which you are teaching on board through online, obviously your students will say we are not able to interact. Start interacting, give that information as videos, they come prepared. And believe you me, this model will be a better where we are blending technology with our face to face. Thank you so much. Any questions? I am here.
Thank you, ma'am. This session is now open for discussion. Participants can also post their questions in the chat box.
Dr. Rajendran is asking how to ensure outcome-based education in multiple choice question. See, you have to be very, very careful in making multiple choice questions. They should not be just rote learning. When you try to make the students analyze, think, they can be video-based questions, MCQ. You like as a chemistry teacher, I will show them the mechanism and then ask the base question base, rather than saying, okay, write short note on this. Dr. Sheljo is writing, without having a uniform syllabus throughout the nation, how can we make the credit transfer by MOOC possible? Yeah, Dr. Shelju, very valid concern. There are two thoughts over this. First thing, many teachers and many educators, they say that the uniform syllabus should be there, but I personally don't agree. And many are of us, we say it should not be there. Because see, at every regional way also there are so many life skills which are required, which should be integrated with these curriculums. And that is the additional thing I will say, that come out with MOOCs which are providing that optional and the elective ways where we can fill up the missing gaps. What are the industry related skills, which are the industry related information, some courses which can be. So if you have a group of 60 students and each of them want to go into a different direction, can you provide them 60 MOOCs as options? This is what the future we have to look for, so that depending upon their interest, they are taking some main base core subject, but then they are still able to pursue their interest. And with this a unique combination, they will be able to do that better. There is another question is, Do you have upcoming training for English teacher? English teacher as such, we have not thought about, Dr. Aisha, but yes, we can work out some collaborative team. You can contact me individually. You have my email ID is just my name at the rate Gmail, vimalra at the gmail.com. And otherwise, I am there in your WhatsApp group also. So you can contact me and we can plan something. And I'll really wish that if we can use whatever knowledge we are gaining right now in this digital space, if we can also make some small meaningful programs for our students, because these skills which are missing in the system, if we can handhold them, is something we can. So don't just look at the curriculum part, the syllabi part. Even out of syllabi is again a detailed lecture rather given by Professor Ved Prakash himself in our programs, is there are so many hidden elements in the curricula. And ultimately the idea is we should be preparing our students who are ready to work globally, but looking at local situation problems and solving them, and ultimately a good Indian citizen. So that's what we have to prepare. So whether that route is going through physics, chemistry, bio, history, doesn't matter, but we have to also give that additional thing. And that additional thing is actually missing. Sometimes we say, so much syllabus we are not able to complete, so put that into video lectures and start taking those missing things in as interactions in your classroom teaching. How do we ensure the higher order skills are there through online education? See, it's how you take your topic and then go into discussion, what type of questions you frame, what problems you can tell them to. Like I form study groups, 4 or 5 students, and then they are discussing that particular topic till they meet in the next class after a week. And then they are given a group project. They think, then they come out and then they present. So we have to be thinking in a different way now, and look at where all just compare the CBSE and IIT type of questions. I think it's the same syllabi, but the way the questions are being asked is entirely taking into the higher order thinking skill question. So the some flavor of that can be added, why not? But yes, syllabi is overburdening, that also needs to be reduced. Whatever we do, if we are able to train our students into self lifelong learning, I think, and interest to that particular subject, they will be able to do that. That's what I am trying to do with. So if you are able to understand the potential of using these technologies, I think you will get a zeal to learn it from somewhere or the other. And that's what I will request you also to do in your classroom. Create interest, create that spark towards your subject, that yes, I want to learn more about this. And information, if we see it is with us, no, our students have more information than us. So we have to be just co-learning with them, we have to be facilitating, we have to be guiding. And that is what is the new dimension of us as tech savvy teachers has to be. Any course in teaching maths? There are many MOOCs available on SWAYAM platform, and otherwise it's not only SWAYAM, Coursera, edX, there are so many global level of MOOCs which are available, and the spirit is learning is free, certification is cost. So you please tell your students to start utilizing these resources and use them in your own class. You don't have to repeat the same thing again, go beyond that. It's not that we just tell the derivation and the problem the students will do. Let the derivation be there in videos which we share and the students come prepared. Let us start applying it. Let's start analyzing the already available information, and that's where okay, so I think thank you. Any more questions?
For your session and for taking up these questions. One of the national level policy makers in the area of ICT enabled education, Dr. Vimal Rao, Project Head and Joint Director, Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center of MHRD, Government of India, has given us a systematic overview of quality-oriented e-content development through this session.